This is crazy, man. This is really surreal. Yeah, it's great to be here. Seriously. I was sort of going to be in Boston for a bit, and then it turned out that we could do a masterclass here, and it was originally going to be like a Skype thing, and then we said let's do it in real life, which is way better than Skype. Um, and so I'm here to do this class, which is great. And I haven't planned a massive deal of stuff. I've got with me a whole lot of projects, like my Logic projects for three of my videos, because I was doing a class in Cleveland just now, so it kind of worked out great. But I think maybe the best way to approach this is like a constant question and answer forum type thing. So anybody ever who has a question can just say like, I got a question, and then we can that will like propel the thing. I think that'll be nice. That'll be good. But we can just start. I mean, we can talk about like harmony a bit, rhythm, groove making, recording techniques, kind of production, video things, music, life issues, and bunch of a bunch of other stuff, which is cool. So I think I'll just get started then. This is the file for Fascinating Rhythm. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Cheers, man. The first thing that you do, or I do anyway, when I think about arranging a tune, is obviously to pick a tune. That's after like deciding to do an arrangement. And so I thought of this tune. I kind of love this tune. There's not much point in arranging a tune you don't love, in my opinion. People might disagree, like people who want to be satirical in their arranging, which can be great fun. It has to be said. But for me, all the songs I've arranged are songs I kind of grew up with and really love dearly. And this one is no exception. I thought about a tune that would have a whole bunch of stuff in it that would be possible to be flexible with. This tune's kind of repetitive, which means that there's things you can do over a period of time that will grow and be a thing. I think if you start with a melody which is already blowing your mind, and that doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's like you need to start with a melody that has clarity, because then you're going to swing some crazy shit underneath it, and it needs to hold together. And I think the best melodies will do this. And so this is a good one. This is a great melody. I mean, the way I did this. Okay, the first thing I did arranging this, I was in my back room in my house. I was eating some like beans on toast, because that's quite a British thing to do, as I understand it. But there I was, and one thing that tends to happen sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but you know when you get flooded with creative ideas and energy out of the blue. I had this situation occur in the beans on toast room, and I'd already decided to do this song. I got my iPhone device out and opened up the voice memo application, and I set about recording a bunch of ideas for this video. And what I did is I went into the garden and I walked around in circles for a bit. I find it cool to kind of pace around. I don't know about you, but I recorded a bunch of stuff. Like I had grooves, I had voice, like kind of specific voicings. I wanted to get in little backing figures and structural ideas, even video ideas. I just kind of described it in an excited tone to my mobile phone. When this was done, I got it all into Logic. This is Logic, by the way, and I cut up my voice memo file, and I kind of drag and dropped all the different segments into different sections. So I made a track for verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, melodic solo, complement, funky section, introduction, ending, miscellaneous, and then I just kind of worked out what I had already, and I filled in the gaps. It's very important to pace an arrangement, as I'm sure you might guess, because too much at once is too much at once. You can't take it all in at one time, and that still means it can be crazy. But you need to think about the order in which your ideas come. So most of the ideas I had in this excitable moment went into the verse 3 bit because they were all crazy, and then it's a matter of filling in the blanks. When I did I tell you what, I forgot to install Sibelius on this computer before I left home, and so I can't show you the score, which just sucks, But But I can show you all the audio files. So the first thing I do, as you can see from this preview here, is to arrange the track, many of the a cappella voices, as you can see up here. Oh shoot, it really works. That's crazy, man. Okay, nice. So, all right. So I make myself a canvas, and hey, yeah. I said about arranging this thing. So, first thing to do is you get your melody out there, and bits and pieces. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, so actually, as far as the six faces thing is concerned, it's not always six faces. Files. It can be more or less. This is a luxury that comes with working at home on your own, because I do this all by myself. You can sort of, once you get the track sorted out, the video kind of comes after that. So the first thing to do is to arrange and to record, and after this you get the video. I actually use my sister's iPad for filming, much to her dismay. I sort of grab it out of her room and set it up in the loft upstairs. But before that even happens, I arrange this thing. Once the arrangement is complete, I normally start with the bass part, just because the bass part is kind of like the soil for your orchard. And I can play a bit of that right now. Is this like plugged into the?
Dum, 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 dum.
Nice. Okay.
Ba, ba, ba,
I had a section that I thought about looping for you.
Dum, ba, to find out what that has done. Dum, 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 ba, dum, dum, ba, dum, 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 ba, dum, ba, dum, ba, dum, 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 ba,
Right.
ba, do, yeah. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh.
All right, I'm going to loop this section. I can even find it on the actual music. Hey, man.
What's a lowest note you can sing?
It depends on the day. I get up, I strive to get colds, and then wake up early as well to get low notes. And yeah, so I mean, I can normally guarantee a D, which is like ba, that's a D. And then lower than that, it's just kind of, it's like pot luck, I've got a B today, sort of thing. And yeah, so that's the thing. And I actually made a document of loads of relevant consonants and vowel sounds for this particular song of low notes. One day I had a really, really bad / good cold, and so I did like fa, dum, di, like boom, and all this kind of stuff. And then I actually drag and dropped them when I couldn't get the note, when I was really tired from singing. I put the things in. It's kind of handy. But I'm gonna try and locate this section. Here it is. Yeah. All right. So one thing I like to do when it comes to harmony, we can talk a bit about harmony if you like. I mean, yeah, I love harmony. Harmony's great. And when it comes to arranging, it's cool to play some games with harmony. Otherwise, I think you can't take yourself too seriously in any situation, but definitely when it comes to arranging, the whole thing is kind of really fun. I would advocate fun in general. Fun's good, and in arranging, it's even better. So this bass line here is chromatic. Most of it's chromatic, I think.
Oh, how I long to be.
Yeah, that bit's chromatic. If I just build up the part by part, it's kind of a fun trick. So this is the next one.
Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be.
There we go.
Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man
Melody.
that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be. Oh, how I long to be the man that I used to be.
Now here's a crazy truth. Thanks, man. Thanks. How many of you know that the piano is not actually in tune? How many of you have heard about this? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is like So equal temperament is a scam. People think it's the truth, and it's not the truth. It's a compromise. Back in 500 years ago or so, people tuned chords. I mean, some people still do, but chords come from the harmonic series. They don't really come from the piano. So for example, a major chord on the piano is wrong because the major third, it's not wrong, but the major third is a bit out of tune. In the harmonic series, you get, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with this, but it's a natural kind of, in every note there's a natural bunch of harmonics that sort of swinging up above it, just hanging out, and they kind of support the sound of the thing. And if you go up in the harmonic series, this is not a real piano, as you can, I mean, maybe you guessed it, but basically it goes, and then a note between those two notes. And so this is the harmonic series. The third, so the ratio of the fourth harmonic to the fifth harmonic is the root to the major third. On the piano, this is too large. So this is, it's about 16 cents too big. It's the sad truth. If I sing the right third, the right one is like, can you hear that's a bit out of tune? So yeah, so when it comes to arranging, I'm not tied down to the piano since I don't use auto-tune, which uses equal temperament. You can tune chords the way you want to, which is nice. So you know, so yeah, thirds, for example, need to be lower than they are on the piano if you'd like to tune them properly, which I do like to do that. And fourths, incidentally, are slightly too large on the piano. Is that right? Yeah, they're a bit too large on the piano. So if I actually, in real life, were to do this, right, then this note is going to end up a whole bunch lower. In fact, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2, which is 12 cents lower. That's called a comma. Some people call it the Pythagorean comma. If you get fifths, then every fifth gains 2 cents. In proper terms, every fifth gains 2 cents as it goes up, and every fourth loses 2 cents. This section ends on 2 chords, and the top note in both chords is C, but maybe some of you have heard that the first C is actually different from the second C, because the first C is the top of a quartal voicing. Quartal voicings are voicings made of fourths, so I believe the voicing is something like that, which is just fourths. I missed out that one. The second voicing is something I think like this, which is C super ultra Lydian, E super ultra Lydian, or it's something of your own choosing. That's what I call it. It's like C sharp major 7 over E, which comes from a whole bunch of fifths, because fifths are great. So that's the thing. And think how many cents you've gained by going up that many fifths. You know, loads. I could tell you, but I'm not going to. And then the fourths are, I've lost, you know, a bunch of fourths. So the first chord, the C is lower, right? Because I've just tuned it as it should be tuned. And then the second one is a little bit higher. I found this so funny when I did it. I wondered how many people would kind of notice. I thought I'd take it apart for you because it's really funny to explain. But this is the joy. This is the joy of not using tuning systems and not necessarily writing and recording at the piano all the time, because you've got the whole world to draw from in terms of actual harmony, which is dope, man. It's really great. So that's an example of that. Yeah, fourths and fifths and voicings. If we just do a bit of a voicing trip for a second, they're really strong. Voicings are really strong with fifths and fourths in them, because fifths and fourths are awesome. They're the lowest part of the harmonic series. You get the harmonic series begins with an octave, then you get a fifth, and then you get a fourth, and then you get a third, and the intervals get smaller and smaller. So the fifth is the kind of other than the octave, it's the first interval that we encounter when we look at the harmonic series. And so if I play a voicing like this, for example, all right, that's nice voicing. I'll say this voicing, maybe that one. Okay. Now, if I had a fifth in the bottom of this, like this, see how that adds some like nice warmth, and it makes it stable, and it gives it like nice heavy boots, and it kind of makes an impression on your ears and stuff. Because fifths are good. Put fifths in the basings of your voicings that you want to put great big anchors in, because that's cool, and it's a nice trick. There's even a trick you can do when your ensemble or your own voice, in my case, cannot reach down to this note. I can put a fourth in the bottom of my chord. So if I went like this, then it kind of gives the illusion of of the fifth below. Maybe you guys have checked this out, some of you, but it comes from something which I can't remember the name of in the harmonic series, where it gives a nice echo of the fifth below. This thing. It sounds like there's a G at the bottom. It's actually just a D. So yeah, fifths and fourths give a whole bunch of good stuff. Fourths in the middle of voicings, such as this one, or even the more commonly heard, this one. These are all fourths, and that's a fifth. Your ear is generally happy with that, you know. And so yeah, okay. Here's something else you can do with fourths and fifths, which I adore. So how many of you guys have heard of Lydian? How many of you guys have heard of Super Lydian? Okay, yeah. How many of you guys have heard of Super Ultra Hyper Mega Meta Lydian? Okay, so you know, so if we put Lydian in thirds, like this, this is a familiar sound. It's nice. It's strong, and I'll tell you why. Because it's got fifth here, a fifth here, a fifth here, and a fifth here. It's a really strong sound. It's nicely fits together. Now, in your jazz textbooks, you may have read that a Lydian ends there and it begins again, like this. I disagree with this premise, and I've decided that it keeps going. Right. So this is C major 7. This is D major 7. Right. Now I do believe there is a C sharp in this voicing, and it's a C major 7 chord. But I also believe that it sounds better than this. This sounds better than that. This is killing, man. This sounds great, you know. So thus the Super Lydian thing is born. So you can keep going, man. No one told you to stop, really, other than all of your teachers. So this is a big chord, man. Thank you. Yeah. And so yeah. So check that out. That's a Super Lydian voicing. And I tell you what's cool. When you play Super Lydian voicing, and then you play like a quartal voicing, but with the same note on the top, like this, for example. So this is that's a drastic change of color, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is really kind of surprising. I enjoy this. You know, that's cool. Play with fifths and fourths, guys, seriously, because they will herald no end of and good things. So. That's something. Let's talk a little bit about, as we're on the harmony thing, and I'm kind of digging it. Let's talk about chords, tonality, key centers. Key centers are nice, handy, mechanisms, machines. Say I'm in C, for example. Okay, so C is our key. It's like our gravity point. It's a magnet. Our ears are pulled to C if we're in C. And even if I go out of C, I'm home when I get to C, right? Now, many of you would have been taught or have found yourself or checked out by listening to many records that you enjoy or not enjoy, that basically jazz encourages you to approach a key center from the fifth side of the cycle of fifths. Cycle of fifths is great. Yeah. So, so it goes, from where you're sitting, it goes like C, G, D, A, etc., and then it goes C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, etc. So fifths, fourths, if you look at it like that, or there, because fourths are fifths backwards, if you hadn't checked that out before. So okay, so in jazz, many of us would approach C from D minor, and then we go to C like that. It's nice. So the bass line goes dum dum dum, which is coming from the fifth side. It's kind of cool when you don't think about cadencing as having to be 2-5-1. A cadence means a resolution. Right? And the whole of music is to do with tension and release. So you make some tension, then you resolve it. You create a home vibe, and then you go back to it. You depart, and then you return. This kind of thing. So a cadence means, hey, I'm going home, or at least I'm going to like an implied home or something. And so when you land in a key, it doesn't have to be from chord 5, despite classical music. There are many other cool types of cadence. Many of you may have heard of the tritone substitution. Which is when you substitute the bass note of G7 with its tritone. That's cool. And then there's like everything else that you can possibly do. Like head there from, instead of G major, what about G minor? It's nice, right? You go back to C, you feel like you've arrived home. and that you get there actually from the fourth side of the cycle of fifths, because G minor is the same as B flat. B flat is like 2/4 west of C, and I really got into cadencing from the fourth side of the cycle of fifths. So if I go, I really love that, and and this is cool. But what about like, yeah, it's nice, right? James Taylor does this. Joni Mitchell does this. A bunch of people do this. The what? Sorry.
Jacob Collier cadence.
The cadence. Oh, a Jacob Collier cadence is wow. I've never thought about that before. I'll have to get back to you about it. I'll have to think while I'm teaching the class, and then I'll let you know. That's a good question, though. Yeah, the last two chords. Yeah, I can. Yeah, good idea. All right, just to tie this up first. So, what Joni Mitchell does sometimes, it's just like a nice little comfortable cuddle. Like you're in a key, and then you just go to chord 4 and come back to chord 1, and you can do it in other keys as well. And it's just it makes you feel at home in a key instead of sort of like you sort of like and you bounce around, and then if you go to a new key, and if I'm in C, right, then I go to A flat and I go, yeah, it's like, hey, we're in A flat, guys, and it's all right, it's like we're home because we're not heading around the fifth cycle, which is like we're going to resolve somewhere. We're in the fourth cycle, which is like just kind of nesting down or something. So I fell in love with this amongst other things. And you can do plagal on plagal. This is called a plagal cadence 4/1. So if I actually go, I'm in A flat like this, and I can go. You've probably heard this before, like this kind of thing. Because that's E flat major, and then B flat major, and then F major. So I'm approaching it from the fourth side. This is dope, man. I enjoy this. So when you think about cadencing, just imagine it as a resolution. It's not tied to any kind of chords. It's just a resolution. So you can resolve anything you like. So say I've got right C. This is cool. This is cool. But if we just think, okay, gravity is going to C, then our top line is coming down. So why don't we do the bass line coming up? Yeah. So, and why do we have to do it diatonically? No one said we had to. So let's do it chromatically, right? So then let's just work out something that's going to work. What can we do there? Yeah, this is cool because what your ear hears is melody line dropping down, bass line coming up. We're all cool at the end of the story. So I think of cadences as gravity as opposed to whatever the opposite of that is, like anti-gravity or something. But the idea is that your ear is drawn somewhere, and then it's cool. And it's nice to superimpose key centers as well, because you can cadence into kind of subsidiary key areas in your chords, and that happens when you put like a the top of one of your chords that maybe doesn't belong to the key you're in. Like say I've got C and I play this on the top, which is kind of like B. This could be C super ultra hyper. What was that? Super ultra hyper Lydian. If it's like this, or it could just be B over C, right? And so say I'm actually gonna head to F sharp kind of soon. Like it's on my it's on my to-do list to go to F sharp. I'm in C. And I might superimpose a B, and then I'm in F sharp. It's like a sort of a key. You don't have to just go to F sharp. It's nice to set up a nice way of resolving this. This is kind of the secret of jazz, is learning how to create tension and then release it. So this is a voicing in which two keys are kind of present. Because what's the key? I don't know. It could be B, it could be C. Both are in the chord, and so. It's nice when you reach points where the harmony can change. And so check this out, for example. This is a neat little trick. So I'm in C. I'm in C, still in C. I'm in C, and it's all good. And then I'm going to go to G flat in order to modulate to the tritone away from C. It's a really nice little trick. This actually comes from classical music, but my C triad goes up to D flat, and my C goes down to B, right? So I got, and then it's cool. So you can actually do this again and again, and it never fails to excite you. So I'm in C, and I'm going to go, yeah, and then I'm back in C again because I've gone tritone, tritone, back where I started. Devices like this are fun, you know. So I'm in A flat, and then I'm actually going to go like this, and then I'm home. That's fun, right? I kind of enjoy that. You know, I'm superimposing a different key over the top. It's surprising to the ear, but the reason it works is because the line isn't just being erratic and changing. The line has got a path of its own. So if I'm in C and I go there, then every note in the top part of the voicing rises, and every bass note, which is 1, sinks. And chromatic lines are just the boss, man. If you can get a bunch of harmony which has chromatic lines going through it, then you're winning, because chromatic lines are the most stepwise movement possible. Yeah, you guys might have figured out that in order for something to sound good, each part needs to be a melody of its own. And the best melodies maybe don't leap around all the time. Maybe they do. But often, in my experience, melodies work well if they just go from part to part in a stepwise motion, because then your ear can follow it. It's a nice exercise to think about working in a limited number of parts and seeing how much you can get out of them by implying different things and trying to get each line to move in its own sort of a chord. Yeah, that's something about harmony. Somebody said, let's talk about the last couple of chords. I'd love to do that because I really enjoyed these last couple of chords. And yeah, they're a bit insane actually. They're kind of they're really big. Let me just see if I can find it. Okay. Let's pause there for a moment. If I'm not mistaken, this is A. This is A major, add 2. Sharp 4. So I've established a key, as we were just saying. I've got. It's not really the key. We're not in A at all. But this part actually goes to C. So what you've got is A flat over A over C, right? So it's like a triple decker bus, you know. This is cool, and it creates a bunch of tension that, like, unbelievably gratefully, the ear resolves to this whatever it is, right? Which incidentally is a super Lydian chord. For those of you who hadn't realised, it has a D in it. It's a D flat major. So this is a cadence, you know. It's not A flat 7. I can tell you that. It's A, right, and then it's D flat major. Each part, I believe, moves somewhere. Or at least I hope it does now. I'm showing it in a masterclass. Yeah, I guess it kind of does. This shape is consistent throughout both chords. A flat major, A flat major. Yeah, it's cool. This bit, that's not compatible, but that's compatible. So all of these voices rise. Chromatic motion, I've kind of got it. I've nailed the part moving, because this goes to this, and this kind of stays where it is. So the ear just kind of follows it through, and it's an exciting end to the piece, because you see all the faces, and that's really fun and engaging. And you've got this thing. This is a D. So it's great big super Lydian structure, which is fun. So yeah, does that answer your question a little bit? Yeah, cool. I just thought of something else to say about harmony, really quickly, to tie up how it's cool to approach harmony. If we think about every chord being in a mode, then each chord has 3 major triads and 3 minor triads that work within it. Take C major, for example. If I'm in C Lydian, C works. This is all from the cycle of fifths, by the way. So if I'm in Lydian, there are 3 possible major modes for this chord. By the way, don't take theory too seriously. If it's like if your mind suddenly just went, oh, it's theory kind of thing, then I'm with you. Don't worry. This is a nice, neat way of understanding it. So This is C major. There are 3 different modes that might work with this from the major scale. One of them is Ionian, so it's fun. It's a nice world. Ionian swimming pools like my favorite. Another one is Mixolydian. Yeah, so we've got like a sus thing going on. The other one is of course Lydian. That's Lydian. So in Lydian is the brightest of our 3 modes that we have in our sort of concoction of modes here. The brightest one takes the 3 triads on the harmonic on the cycle of fifths, which are the 3 most east, I suppose. So C, G, and D all work with this. Yeah, there are 3 triads. If I go Ionian, then it's C, G, and F, because I've moved my 3 to there. I'm central, and this is actually a neutral mode because it has the B which wants to rise and the F which wants to fall. So Ionian is a cool place to be. Right? So C, F, and G, they all work in it. Mixolydian is the 3 darkest ones possible that encompass C. We've got C, F, and B flat, which is obviously one of my favorites because you can do this, which I've already mentioned is like my favorite way of cadencing, one of them. So that's not, and so when you think about voicings, you can think about like bitriadic voicings with 2 triads or more. And so, you know, so for example, this is a nice voicing. Yeah, you've got D and E. Underneath this chord, you might have D major. You could have A. You could have C. You could have F sharp minor 7. You could have G superlydian. You could have A flat 7. Yeah, bunch of stuff. And it's nice to do this. To switch them around, I've got D in my left hand, E in my right hand. Now I've got E in my left hand and D in my right hand. This is nice. And you can do fun things like, I mean, so it's moving in contrary motion, so every part has a destination. We've established this is cool. You can just keep going with this. So I've started here, and I'm gonna rise like this, and I'm gonna fall like this. So if I start like this, then I end up where I started, which is kind of nice. Triads are so strong because they've got a 3rd in them and they've got a 5th. Triads are just awesome because they're in the harmonic series, and that validates triads. So yeah.
Do you sit down by the piano and kind of figure out the harmonies first before you stretch it out and then kind of harmonize it and arrange it into voices?
Sometimes, yeah, I do. I use the piano increasingly less, so decreasingly, when in arrangement, just because it's first of all it's not in tune, and second of all I think it's more fun and challenging not to try and use it. But it's a really good song. If anyone wants to play with harmony, then just go to the piano, because most of harmony is like in the piano, so you can try stuff out. I mean, just to hear the sound of that on the piano is well handy, you know. And obviously when I record it in real life, the 3rd is going to be a bit lower and this 3rd is going to be a bit lower. But you kind of follow. I found this just by trying out when you sing it. When you sing it, you realize it's not in tune. You think, why isn't it in tune? And then you realize, well, it's because the 3rd isn't in tune or something like this. So when you don't limit your ears to equal temperament, then you're winning. But yeah, the piano's cool, and you can think about trying to play things in different numbers of parts on the piano as an exercise. That's a great exercise to play things in, say, 4 parts, for example. That's nice. Yeah, where was I going to go? Yeah, so bitriadic voicings are cool because triads are cool. There are certain sounds that are strong, and a triad is one of them because it's a whole sound and it comes from somewhere natural. Yes.
Do you think it's because of the harmonic series that makes that Lydian texture such like a satisfying end? Just like you know.
I think it is actually, even though some of these notes aren't in the harmonic series, but you've got this in the bottom, which is the harmonic series, and then you've kind of got superimposing that harmonic series on top of itself. So this is D flat major, this is A flat major, and both of these have a harmonic series of their own. And so D flat, A flat, and then you've got, well, I suppose. I mean, I could probably find a major there somewhere. I suppose B flat major. So that's B flat, A flat, D flat, and those all have really strong sounds. And so it's just a matter of going like this and then like this. And so yeah, the harmonic series is the secret weapon with this, because you get a chord that's voiced really openly. If I voice it like this, it sounds stodgy, right? Because the harmonics of this note are going, you know, which is not this key, because it's low and you hear the harmonics better. But you know, this is a strong sound, this is a strong sound, this is a strong sound, and the whole thing is made up of right, fifths. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it does definitely mean that's the case.
Like every jazz record, like it ends somehow. It ends with a sharp 11. Oh, there it is.
I found it. Yeah, yeah, that's true. The sharp 11, I think, is strong because it comes. I mean, this is kind of George Russell's theory that the Lydian is the most natural form of. I don't think I agree with them. I think that Ionian is the most natural mode of 7 or 8 notes because it's balanced. You've got C pentatonic, which is like the most neutral of C, and then you've got, in addition to this, you've got B, which wants to rise, and you've got F, which wants to fall. Lydian is not balanced. I don't think it's balanced because I want to do that. But that's just me. I find the tritones aren't that strong at the top of voicings. I think maybe, but Lydian's certainly a strong sound. I mean, you've got D major, C major. You know, it's a nice end to a tune. It's better than sort of going like, you know, it's like. But then you know, you got this like tinkly kind of thing, and it sounds great because it's really, it comes from fifths out of the chord, and it's kind of like the icing on the top of a cake in terms of that. So you know, it's nice. The sharp 11's a delicious thing to put on the top of a chord, and then even more delicious, obviously, is the sharp 15. That really sings because it's a fifth. Just to quickly mention in harmony about how each different note in the scale has a different kind of personality. I'm sure you guys have come to terms with this a little bit, but you know, we've mentioned the fifth is kind of like a stabilizer. You've got the third, which is kind of like the defining feature of the chord. The seventh, which kind of shows the chord where it's at in terms of its like bias. Does it want to stay in C or does it want to change from C? Let's for now say it wants to stay. We've got the sixth, which is kind of warms it. It's kind of rounded, maybe because it's surrounded by G on its left and B on its right. It's kind of got some nice pals, and so it wants to stay where it is. But it kind of thickens the chord out in a nice way. It also implies A minor, which is kind of sad, but it's nice. It just sort of makes it feel more at home. Then you've got the ninth, you know, and the chords work just as the ninth. That's a really lovely warm sound because it's maybe got a fifth in the middle of it. And so you get the ninth, and maybe the ninth wants to fall, like at the beginning of Close to You, like that. Ninth's full, that's cool. That rhymes. Something that rhymes with rhymes. So you've got ninths, you've got sixths, you've got major sevenths, and then so all these different things have different functions. The sharp 11 is maybe one of your brighter like options because it's the furthest removed from C on the cycle of fifths. The whole of this Lydian mode can actually be listed as C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp. You end up at 6 o'clock because it's like a tritone away from C. This note is the furthest away from C, so it has the most like drastic impact. In minor chords, you do the same thing. You just do it the other way around. So you start with a minor third, and you go up like this. It's a kind of similar thing. In a minor chord, maybe the most juicy note you can choose, because C minor is basically E flat major. The most juicy note you can choose is maybe the minor sixth, because you know if I end C minor and I go. It's like if it sings, because it's the sharp 11 of E flat, and that's where C minor comes from. But it kind of is built up of intervals. So in C minor, you've got that's a major seventh, yeah, that's kind of sour, and then you've got the ninth, that's a major seventh, that's kind of sour. And if you use these to your advantage, you get some amazing sounds. You know, fourths are great, by the way. If I hadn't said that already, you can just like get so much cool shit with fourths, and just like. Make some nice voicings only using fourths, because you can list the whole voicing in fourths just as you can in fifth, but fifths aren't very kind of environmentally friendly because they use up really loads of space, but fourths are just kind of way more compact, so I'd advocate that. And so going back to my initial premise, when you sing notes in chords, say I'm singing the sharp 11 for example, I have the luxury of working in an environment where I'm not paying for my studio time, and so I've had the opportunity to just experiment with a bunch of stuff. So when I'm singing the sharp 11, I might actually make a different sound with my voice. I might point the sound a bit more, you know. Like if I'm singing a fifth, I might be like, oh, like breathy, oh. And I'm singing the shuffle, it might be like, ah, instead of like, ah, like, ah. You're going to point it because it's like a pointy note, right? And when you realize that each note has its own different kind of function, it's really dope because then you can use that in your timbre, because timbre is expressive as well as harmony, and so is texture and a bunch of other stuff. But it maybe think about that if you want, because different notes have different positions. You know, if I'm doing that, then I might want to emphasize this interval. Sorry, I just couldn't resist doing that. So because this is the spicy interval in the chord, I might want to record these notes kind of louder. I used to just turn them up or sing them louder in the mix, the notes that are important. I've since begun to double track notes that are crucial in chords, notes that are cool. Like for example, in a whole phrase, if there's a note that moves chromatically, like say, I wish I could play an example. That'd be so good, but I can't. Because I don't know my arrangements off by heart. But there's one bit in Pure Imagination where there's a chromatic line that goes through like 8 bars, and it's so satisfying. And I recorded that line twice because then the ear is kind of drawn to it. I mean, you wouldn't know, like you wouldn't think like, oh, he's doing that thing, you know, he's double-tracked the chromatic line, but your ear is still satisfied by the motion of it just going up and up and up, and then it resolves on like the 9th, I think. It sort of goes, I don't know, it's just sort of. It's like, or something. And this when the melodic kind of goes. But then it kind of ends on the 9th, and it's satisfying because the chromatic line has gone, it's kind of burrowed through all these harmonies, and then it's come out in the end, and it's kind of been victorious, which is cool, as opposed to kind of the sad case of all those notes in the past that have not reached the same conclusion. Like if it had ended on the flat 9, for example. Anyway, so yeah, chromatic lines are strong, good things to check out.
So if you have a voicing where you have like 2 notes that are half to apart, I know like you're not supposed to do that. People are going to yell at you. Your range teacher is going to throw a fit. But if you do that, you probably want it in the middle anyway. How important do you think it is that the timbre is different of those 2 notes? Like that it doesn't. I guess you kind of like have to hide it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. Can we get internet here? Okay. So there's a bit in Pure Imagination where there's 4 voices in a row, and they all have a semitone at the top of the voicing. Horrifying, I know, but actually really hilarious and kind of nice, actually. If you're going to do something that's really kind of... Oh, I used to be at the top of this.
If you truly wish to be, think you want to do what, want to change the world, there's nothing to it.
Right, so that's actually... Oh, sorry. Trust me, it's... which is just hilarious. So the last chord, for example, is this, which is D superlydian, because it's like... Got a sharp 15 there. I wish I could... What are those chords? Let me just...
Life, nothing. Do what, want to change the world, there's nothing to...
Right, so you got... What's that one?
Oh, anything you want to do what, want to change the world, there's nothing to it.
Do... That, I guess, so it's like... Yeah, you got... Yeah, so fuck the rules, I guess, is the answer. Thank you very much, thanks. So, yeah, I think what I've actually done there is I've supported every single note in the melody with either a 4th or a 5th below. So in the first chord you got this, and that's a 5th and a 4th. And this is obviously louder in the mix than this because they're not equal. One is better than the other. The melody note is better. So that, and then this one you got the same thing. So it like 4ths and 5ths will validate that note. Like it's cool to be D, you know. You got, then you got just There's no minor. It's just a sus, so fourth, and then, you know. So I wouldn't just kind of do a random sporadic thing there and just put that on the top of a voice and just for a laugh. But the fact is that you know, the chords, this fifth, you know, like there's enough fifths and fourths to make it cool to do that. Yeah. So
You say
yeah.
you're intentionally matching your vowels depending on the intervals.
What did you say? Like changing my vowel sounds? Yeah. Yeah. It's not so much vowel sound. It's more just like the kind of tessitura of your voice. If you're gonna like with breath, with singing, there's as with many instruments, there's a variety of different tones, and I like to kind of think of it as the amount of breath you put in a note. So I can go like ah, or like, you know, ah, and then you know, is the other one. And so you maybe move it up the scale, like you know, just to give it a bit of, just to get your ear to like cling onto it for a second, you know, just because you can point the ear at that by doing that. I mean, I wouldn't do a different vowel sound, that would be too drastic. But I could definitely change the thing, and in the mix, you know, I might double track that note. If I in this bit I didn't do any double tracking, it's all just as is. But in Fascinating Rhythm and Don't You Worry, I did much more. And Fascinating Rhythm, yeah, I said that one. And Don't You Worry, I double tracked many more of the notes because it gives this kind of thicker sound. But this is really pure, this one.
How do you pan them?
Sorry?
How do you pan them?
Yeah, I pan them. Bass is in the center, lead is in the center. If I double track the bass, I think sometimes I hard pan the bass only, so it's like this. And then the other parts just are a myriad of different places in the middle. Obviously, if something's double tracked, then you might either pan it so it's equal like this, or if two tracks are double tracked equally, then you might go like 2 there and 2 there. Because if you pan things close to each other and double track them, then it kind of phases better than if you do this, and they don't really phase because they're just in different worlds. Good question though, nice. That's cool. So yeah, so that's a bit of like harmony for you, I guess. Any other questions throughout? Hey.
Could you talk a bit about rhythm specifically, like time field?
Yeah, I was just about to do that. Great. Are there any other questions about harmony before I kind of go and do that?
Yeah, actually one more.
Yeah.
One very specific one. In the Fascinating Rhythm video, like right before the end, when for the last chorus, a friend of mine and we were watching all of you, Jacobs, and to figure out what you were doing actually, because it's easier like if you have the visual thing. And the one on the right, like down on the right, sings a really beautiful melody. And then the one on the left sings, like, you can see like the harmonic parts of it, and like I was just wondering how did you come up with this, because it.
Okay, which bit? Yeah. Okay, let me tell you a hilarious story. You could spread this around if you want. I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to quote like a bunch of Gershwin tunes at the end of this? And I wonder how many people will notice. I quoted like 7, right? So the first one is the bass. Who goes, slap that bass, like that, which is a Gershwin song, slap that bass. Then the two guys on the right sing It Ain't Necessarily So, which is a good Gershwin song as well. Now, the guys on the left then sing Night and Day, which hilariously is not written by George Gershwin. As was pointed out to me after I uploaded the video. It's like, that's not George Gershwin. So there it is. And then the guys on the right sing It's Very Clear, which is from It's Very Clear, Our Love Is Here to Stay. Yeah. And then the guys on the left sing sorry, this is taking forever. Yeah, it's very clear, and then I sing Work If You Can Get It, which is Nice Work If You Can Get It by George Gershwin. And then the guys on the left sing And the Living Easy, which is from Summertime. And then all together they sing I Got Rhythm. So check it out. See that? Yeah. So these are the kind of stupid games I play when I'm arranging, you know. So that is night and day. Nine goes like night and day, you are the one, and so it goes night and day. That's it. And the harmony is just kind of. Yeah. Night and day. It's just like night and day. I love that. I love moving from. Thanks, man. It's like moving from the major to the chord 3, minor chord 3, but added a minor 11 because minor 11s make your heart warmer. So you know, like if I went, it's really kind of tender, you know. Yeah, if I went like. You know, it's nice. It's just a nice move, you know. I think Bon Iver does that in one of his songs. I really like it. Anyway, yeah, you just find, and incidentally, just because I've been talking about it, every single one of the bass, slap that bass, the whole thing is like fifths, or maybe, and that just gives it like. Yeah. Anyway, chaotic lines. And obviously, when I recorded this, they were all at the same volume and it sounded horrible. And I had to turn all of the backing levels way down so that you basically only heard the melody. It just sounded like an accompaniment. And then when you delve in, then you realize that there's loads of Gershwin songs going on as well. Any other harmony questions before we dive into groove? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm like way out of space.
What? So,
When each voice comes in individually and you have that really low thing again, is that fifths too?
you mean at the end with the 14? Yeah, that's fifth as well. Yeah, so it goes. Yeah, it goes. Fifths. C major, yeah, fifths, and likewise. Fifths, yeah, fifths. Anyway, anything else at all? Anyone? Yeah. Nice.
All right. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so you said earlier when you were speaking that you try to tune your thirds and stuff to like the overtone series and stuff.
Yeah.
How often will you do that throughout your entire song? Like most of it, or just like occasionally? Because sometimes when you do like the melodica solos or any other solo on top of it, does that ever clash? Like when you?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, the difference between the correctly tuned one and the equally tempered one is kind of really small.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing the melodica solo, for example, a lot of the backings are like bop do, you know. I will, in general, tune all my chords correctly, or at least try to. And I don't have a reference point for that. I just kind of use my ear. But you know, say for example, I did this. In the harmonic series, the third is a bit higher. It's like, and so if all of these were too high, then I probably wouldn't do that. I'm not a huge fan of the justly tuned minor third, nearly as much as I am of the justly tuned major third, incidentally. But you know, like. It's like you don't really hear the tuning that much, so it doesn't interfere too much. But yeah, I would say I try and tune most chords correctly. And then the melodic, I mean, my melodic is out of tune anyway. It's like 20 cents sharp because it's I got it for like £20, and so it's just kind of not a great melodica. But yeah, I don't think you should think too much about it when you have two separate sound wells, the melodica as the icing on the cake that is the vocal harmony. Then the melodica, it's all right, it's cool. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Have you tried to explore microtonal music and its harmony?
Yes, I have. Let me just show you. In Don't You Worry About a Thing, there's a microtone in the part. No one's noticed. Which one is it? New a cappella, I think it's this one. As you may see, I make different Logic projects for different sections, so I'm not overwhelmed by the number of tracks in the mix, and then I can bounce them out and fit them together. So yeah, at the beginning of the bit in Don't You Worry About a Thing, which is fun, the first chord is this, and the third chord is this. I think that. This A here is A here, and here it's B flat. There's nowhere for that to go in between. It can't be A. I can't remember what the chord is in between that. But all I know is it can't be A and it can't be B flat. So what's it going to do? It's going to go in between, right? So it goes like la. Oh, I wish I knew the chord. Or maybe I can work it out.
I'll be standing on the side when you check it.
So is it that? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So in this chord, I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to do. Let me solo the microtone. It's so funny. Yeah. So it goes you know. So it resolves to a minor ninth away from the melody as well, which is like such a reward. You know. So yeah, man, microphones are so cool. I dig it. Yeah, they're really great. And I've done a couple of others actually. I did a couple in Fascinating Rhythm. I forgot where they were. I could check the score, but I don't have time. But yeah, seriously. What microtonal music do you enjoy listening to?
I'm from Iran, so we listen to a lot of microtonal.
Nice. Oh man, so cool. Yeah, seriously cool. It's the ear here is tension release. So if you make tension by doing a microtone, then release it. It's fine. It's if you resolved on like a kind of chord, then your ear would like complain. But if it's like the whole point of passing chords is that each chord is just kind of stepping stone, and then you reach the resolution of some kind. So like this is a resolution. It's not that resolved, but you know. So this part does resolve. In every chord sequence, there's like a tiny micro tension release thing going on in every part, and so that just happened to be one which is pretty darned tensed, and then it resolves nicely. It's kind of like scrunching your fist and opening it up again, you know. So that's that. That's cool. Any other questions about harmony? I kind of understand that we could talk about harmony forever. So yeah, one last one. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's the beginning of that same tune that don't you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. The voices, I think I heard it spelled Dorian mode.
The Dorian note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dorian mode, like in
What
seconds.
you mean the bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the bass is doing that, the other voices.
Oh, it does this. Yeah, that's Dorian. Yeah, I can show you that. Oh, I just closed the project. Uh-oh. Yeah. So exactly, you're spot on, my friend. It's a Dorian. It's a Dorian cluster. Yeah. So you know, I actually I talked about major chords being able to do 3 triads all at once. I didn't mention that in minor triads in minor chords it's exactly the same. So you have 3 possible modes. One of them is Dorian, which is this. It's got the brightness of the major 6th in it. Then you've got Mixolydian, Aeolian, which has in that mode, maybe the brightest one would be the 5th, because it's a major 7th against the 6th, even though the 5th is like supposed to be comfortable. It's lovely. And then the final one is Phrygian, which most people think is like, but actually Phrygian's really kind. It's just like this, right? It's kind of like going, it's nice. That's Phrygian. You know, it's really nice to be playing a little bit. Then you're Phrygian just for a little while, and then it's nice. I'd advocate Phrygian. Phrygian has too many enemies because people think it's like really dark and stuff. But even Locrian can be pretty. You know, like if I go. It's nice, right? It's really nice. Anyway, so the one I chose for this was Dorian, and what you hear is a Dorian. Oh no, wrong one. You hear a nice Dorian. Every note in the Dorian scale sung all at once. Maybe it's in intro. No, I don't think it's in intro. Vocal groove. Here it is. Crashed. Yeah. And incidentally, in that voicing, there's that on the top of it, which is fine. It sounds kind of fun. It's like just a yeah. So here's the groove. Now, if I open up this thing, you can see that I've done different volume levels for different parts here. They increase their volume at different speeds depending on their purpose in the chord. So this guy is he's the G. He's the third, right? And so I think I kind of recorded that G kind of quietly as well for some reason. The waveform looks smaller. So the G needs to sing then, and then the other parts come and join him. Because once your ear is latched onto the G, then it's safe to put the other shit in. This one's the slowest because it's the most pointy. It's the natural sixth in it's the furthest removed from our harmonic series, our circular fifth thing. So you don't even hear it, and it just creeps in. And actually, incidentally, the second time it gets louder quicker. See there? You can hear that note louder because the second time you've already kind of got into the groove and you're up for it, you know. So yeah, that's just a tiny micro thing going on there. But yeah, that's every note in the Dorian scale. I've got 9 parts there, so something else must be happening. Or is it 10 parts?